Jack is no longer the person he used to be, calm and predictable. But one classic car changes everything. He doesn't just fix the engine, he finds the lost parts of himself. He relives a life he thought was gone forever. Hello, everyone. This is Tales Unveiled, a story that made me think. Let's begin. Jack's garage was not a showroom. It was a cave with oil stains on the concrete, the smell of old metal, and the constant hum of power tools. He worked alone, always. Modern mechanics with laptops and diagnostics were not for him. Give him a cylinder block and a torn gasket, and he's in business. People whispered that he could bring to life an engine covered in rust. Mostly, classic cars passed through his doors, relics of an era when chrome shone. And when the V8 roared, it was a real beast. Today's car is just another 70s Chevy Impala. Faded blue paint and a worn vinyl roof. Jack walked around the car, checked for leaks, and listened to the engine sounds. Just the usual work to pay the bills and make it in time for the dinner his wife prepared. That's exactly how it was supposed to be, but when his hand touched the door handle, something pierced him sharply. This car was not just metal and rust. It was his. Or rather, not really his, but it felt like the same thing. The curve of the fender, the low rumble of the exhaust, the ghost of his first car. Back then, he was a skinny young man with hair as black as motor oil. Fiona, with her fiery smile and mischievous laughter, sat beside him. His breath faltered. He hadn't thought of her for years. Life had taken everything. Children, mortgage, the relentless passage of time. Fiona settled with another man somewhere in the South. He had heard about it. He pushed it all deep into his consciousness, where it belonged. He had a good, stable life, but this car revealed a dusty corner of memories. He was back on that two-lane highway. The summer air was thick with the scent of pines. Fiona's hand lay on his knee, reckless, youthful, wildly alive. Something inside him had changed, something he thought he had buried forever. This was not just another car. The work echoed the past, calling him back. He looked at the workshop door, already knowing the usual routine wouldn't work today. Other cars, clients, it all seemed unimportant. The pull of this Chevy was stronger than anything. Instead of writing estimates, he reached into the toolbox, his hands moving automatically, years of experience taking over his mind. He started with a simple oil change, then moved on to the brakes. It felt more like an act of devotion than work, fully immersed in the process. His wife, bless her, brought him a sandwich for lunch. He barely noticed, lost in the symphony of clinking keys and the rhythmic sigh of the engine. She looked at him, a wrinkle on her forehead and a familiar shade of worry. "You have that look again, Jack," she said quietly, knowing him too well. He knew that look. Long nights under the hood, missed family outings, wild ideas that rarely came true. Just an old car, stirring memories. "Just an old car?" he muttered, barely meeting her gaze. She sighed but didn't insist. She knew him too well to push. Instead, she put down the sandwich and left him alone with the ghosts. Every hour, bent over the Impala, he came alive, not just as a car, but as a man. Not just the car was coming back to life, but Jack himself was waking from a sleep he hadn't even suspected. The aches in his bones felt less like age and more like proof of work done by hands. Late in the evening, in the haze of welding sparks, a wave of memories overwhelmed him so strongly that he staggered. The sweet and tangy scent of Fiona's perfume clung to the car seat. She hummed forgotten rock songs from the radio, her voice off-key but full of joy. At that moment, by the lake, as he searched for words, his heart beat like a drum solo. She laughed and kissed him, shattering all carefully laid plans. He set aside his tools, his hands trembling. It had been so long since he allowed himself to feel this pain from the past. Fiona from his past was a ghost, but a strong one. Had he been so focused on stability and predictability that he forgot about the present? He had lived so long that he forgot what it was like to take a risk and follow the call of the heart, not the repair manual. On one of his rare visits, his son came to see him. The son, who recently got a prestigious job in the city, stood by the Chevrolet with a thoughtful look. Instead, the son said, "She's a beauty, Dad. I didn't even know you had this." Something in Jack thawed. Maybe he wasn't so distant after all. Perhaps the son saw in him not just a stubborn old man clinging to a dying craft. It made him think about more than just restoration. A week later, he finished the Impala. The transformation was impressive, proof of a forgotten passion. But instead of the usual relief, he felt a strange emptiness. He brought the car back to life. But what about his own life? News of the shining Impala quickly spread among classic car enthusiasts. It seemed he had ignited a dormant fire within himself. The phone rang with more orders than he could handle. He consciously chose long, winding, scenic routes instead of the short way. The roar of a well-tuned engine matched the beating of his heart. The owner, a local farmer with a worn face and calloused hands, looked uncertain. "I don't know if it's worth doing," he began. "This truck belonged to my grandfather. He used it until his last days. I can't stand to see it rotting in the barn." Jack saw his own reflection in the farmer's eyes. Outwardly a stern man, but with a spark of thirst inside. He couldn't refuse such work. The restoration was slow and painstaking. The pickup was more rust than metal in some places. This was a challenge to his skills, but with every part he replaced and every dent he hammered out, he felt satisfaction he hadn't known in many years. It was more than just fixing a machine. It was honoring the legacy of hard work in simpler times, a way of life slowly being forgotten. One day, a local boy came by, all grease smudges and eager eyes, asking if he could learn the old ways of the trade. At first, Jack hesitated. Teaching meant sharing his knowledge and opening himself up. But in that boy, he saw a reflection of his younger self. The boy was hungry to learn and a little lost, just like Jack had been many years ago. They began working together, bridging generations. The day the pickup roared back to life became a quiet but meaningful celebration for them both. The farmer stood speechless. As the engine turned over, a choked sob escaped the farmer. his eyes filled with tears, touching the newly painted fender, just like he had left it. Jack watched as the reunited farmer and his truck disappeared down the road, feeling the hollow inside him vanish after the Impala project. This was not just about fixing old machines. It was about keeping memories alive and passing on more than just skills. It was about finding his place in a world that constantly changed, holding on to tradition through craftsmanship and connection. That evening, he was in no hurry. After dinner, he held Diana's hand longer than usual, as if something new had sparked in him thanks to the car restoration. That flame was real, but it also revealed to him what he already had: a love that had endured decades, strong as a well-assembled engine. The garage had not lost its charm. Clients still came with cars full of stories, and the sound of its work constantly echoed, stirring the familiar rhythm. But now it found a new rhythm of life. Time for Diana. Walks by the river where they once met, and even attending city games with his son. His son, with burning eyes, became his apprentice, absorbing the craft and listening to Jack's tales of past times when cars were more than just sensors and wires. When the shiny classic car was ready, Jack paused for a moment to appreciate the work and breathe in the sweet summer air. The scent of Diana's garden mixed with a light aroma of gasoline. The car was no longer a key to the past, nor just a bridge to the future. He changed. Now it was not just a car repair. It was his new life, filled with love, family, and memories. The man who first touched the faded Impala became stronger, a bit wiser, and with a steadier hand. Honest work remained a part of his essence. Now this work fits perfectly into the bigger picture of life, like a perfectly tuned engine driving a well-oiled, harmonious life. If you enjoyed this story, press the like button and subscribe to the channel for new tales. Leave one word in the comments about your feelings. While you're here, watch the video currently displayed on the screen. See you in the next episodes and stories.